welcome everybody to Back in Tunes. I'm your host, Michael. My co-host, as always,
It's Jacob.
Jacob.
I,
You might have noticed the
I,
theme song that I just played sucked total donkey ass. That was awful.
oh, please don't remind me. Oh God, I wish I could fast forward through that, or just go deaf for 2 minutes.
It was like a disco-y trance. It was the theme song to the 1994 version of Fantastic Four, and I feel I chose poorly.
I felt like Freddy Krueger was, fucking my earlobes with his knives.
Yeah.
Ugh,
All right,
was that
everybody, let's
terrible.
go ahead, jump on YouTube, find the first episode of Fantastic Four, the 1994 series, and start now.
All right. Yeah. Oh God. I mean, as a kid, I can't. I don't know. I think my mom, she would she would like turn it on, and the theme song would be on, and she'd like mimic the song.
Oh boy.
Yeah, I know. I mean, looking back on it now, yeah, it's torture. It's fucking torture.
Yeah, I don't know what I was thinking. Maybe I should have started with that, but I don't recall the 70s or 60s song being that good either. We'll play it at the end. We'll see what happens. And
Right.
all right, so obviously we're talking about Fantastic Four for two reasons. A, we're comic book junkies, and B, the movie's coming out tomorrow or tonight,
Yeah.
and not what I was
I know.
expecting on the review. Now, you don't care for the critics, but when it comes to superhero movies, I almost always find them spot on. It's not like comic book or comedies, where comedy is subjective and fear is subjective.
Right.
When it comes to action movies and comic book movies and such, usually I think the critics are spot on.
Right. Okay. Now I want to mention this. Like, what are they? If they're are they ever going to do a Namor movie? I'm not sure. I mean, you got Aquaman coming out, and they're practically the same thing, except
There
Aquaman's better.
there was a time where they were really pushing hard for a Submariner movie. Hey, do you say Submariner or Submariner? I think it's Mariner, right?
Yeah, I said Mariner.
Well,
Namor.
yeah, yeah. Let's just say Namor. They were pushing really hard for the movie. Fox had the rights, I believe, and it shifted to someone else. I think Universal had it for a while, and Universal hired David Self, who wrote the fantastic Road to Perdition movie, and they're really like ready to go. And I believe they talked to David Boreanaz, and we're talking this is a while ago. This is like 10 something years ago, and it was right after Angel ended, but before Bones started. So they talked to him about being Namor, and it fell through. And then a few years later, they talked to what's that kid from Lost, the one that died, that's on Vampire Diaries now.
Oh, Boone. Yeah, Ian Somerhalder. I
Thank
want to
you.
say
They were talking to him too, but nothing ever happened. And
good.
as far as I know, I'm pretty sure the rights are back with Marvel. But it's a weird situation because Namor is so tightly linked to Fantastic Four the same way that Silver Surfer is. Yes, they have their own series, they have their own world, but we know their early years being very important to the Fantastic Four. I believe Marvel
Yeah.
has Silver Surfer back. Am I correct?
I don't know. I'm not sure. I'm, I don't know. As far as it goes for Marvel, I'm just too annoyed by all the crying fanboys. I can't stand any of them.
Fan.
Any.
Okay, so here's the thing: is uh, usually I get annoyed by fanboys because they want it to be 100% the same as the comic book. And the problem with that is A, some of the stuff in the comic is silly in a live action movie, and B, it doesn't give the creator any room to move. But yet somehow with the Marvel produced movies, they're able to do both and make the fanboys happy. And I don't know how it is that
Yeah.
Marvel has been so well controlled over that kind of thing, where it's like, yeah, we get really good directors, we get good writers, and they give them some room to breathe, but at the same time, they don't go off what the character's all about, which is what they've done with so many other licenses.
Right. I mean, just like with Avengers 2, that whole fiasco with, the farm scene and, pretty much holding a gun to Joss Whedon's head. Like, if you don't do this scene, you can't do this, blah, 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 blah. If you don't cut this out, and Joss Whedon didn't really put up with any of that shit.
Well, that's why he
But at the
also
same time,
walked away.
also, oh, yeah, of course, yes. And a third reason, reason C, as to not following the comic book, that makes it too predictable. There's no real excitement.
Right.
It's not going to be that enjoyable. It's like what's going to happen. You're not really thrown off.
Yeah, well,
You know?
also we talked about this a few times before in other episodes, but the biggest thing is the racism that goes around with comic book fans. Some people, what is it? Michelle Rodriguez was saying that they just need to write solid characters, original characters for people of color or of other sexes, and she has some truth in that. It's the fact that the studios barely, or the comic book companies barely ever develop anybody who's not white. I mean, there's maybe a handful of characters in each universe that are strong characters that are used on a regular basis. But at the same
Right.
time, so what? So what? Make Johnny Torch black, or Johnny Storm black. You know, and what is it now? They're making Wally West. Did you hear they announced yesterday Wally West is going to be cast?
Yeah, I did. I read that. I'm actually pretty excited for that. That's awesome.
So they're going out of the realm, and he's going to be black. And you know, of course, Miles Morales is Spider-Man now in the comics, and people are losing their minds. They're like, we can't make him that way in the movies. Well, why not?
Good. No, I'll be swimming in fanboy tears.
Yeah,
okay, that's what I'll be doing. That's my reaction.
I'm actually burned out right now. What's going on in the whole Spider-Man universe? And I feel like the guys they hired to write it are the wrong guys. The guy they hired to direct it, I don't know. He's only directed Cop Car, and I heard it's decent, but not the kind of movie you hand. Not the kind of director you hand a $150 million movie to. I feel like Spider-Man has run its course for a while.
I mean, I really wanted to finish. I really wanted to see what the ending of Mark Webb's trilogy.
Yeah,
I wanted to see Sinister Six. I wanted to see Venom, for God's sake.
Now, I was not happy. I don't ever want to see Venom again. The second Spider-Man I felt was a little overloaded, but you don't leave people hanging like that. Finish the trilogy. Wrap it up. Finish your contract that you signed with the actors. Now, this is what brings me to the point of the Fantastic Four movies. They have signed these kids, obviously, to probably a trilogy or more, and it looks like it might not even be this first one out the gate might not even be a hit, so it's all pointless. They'll have a story and just leave us hanging.
Yeah, I know, exactly. And plus, let's be honest. I mean, as far as critics are slamming Fantastic Four, I'm pretty sure that's like due to fanboys or, Marvel's influence. Because, they're owned by Disney, and Disney owns a lot of media.
Well,
let's not deny that.
Well, yes, that's true, but at the same time, not all critics are owned by them, and not all critics are fanboys. I mean, when you have a 9% on Rotten Tomatoes, that has to say something. I think that's worse than what Catwoman had.
Okay, but at the same time, I mean, it can't be any worse than, the Tim Story piece of shit movies.
Yeah, those are pretty rough. They were almost sitcom-y. I don't know. There are
Jessica Alba.
Yeah, there are literally moments when I'm watching the 1994 movie. The 1994 movie that Corman produced. I see more of Fantastic Four in that $1 million movie than I do in the Tim Story. That sounds insane because it's so low budget, but the Thing looks like the Thing. He doesn't look like a giant walking piece of crunchy peanut butter. And I don't know. It just felt right. It felt comic booky. While the other ones just felt like, oh, this doesn't work at all. I don't know what I'm watching here. Is this a superhero movie?
Yeah, I know. It's like it's directed by Tim Story. I mean, he directed Barbershop. What do you expect?
Yeah.
Okay, I want to get back to the cartoon now.
Okay.
The animation is like spot on. This is like the animation I saw from the Spider-Man cartoons. Same, of course, same studios, right?
What's that?
It's like by the same studios that developed and animated the Spider-Man cartoons, right?
That I don't know. Let me look at this up because I know that the guys. This and Iron Man aired back to back. It's possible because the Fantastic Four does show up in the Spider-Man animated series, and if they license this out, this is back when Marvel was pretty close to bankruptcy, so they're licensing out whatever they could just to stay afloat. And I believe that at this point, the same people own the rights to both of them. I could be wrong, and the Incredible Hulk show.
Oh yeah. Oh, I do want to say, I do recognize these voice actors. Quentin Flynn, I'm sure, is the voice of Johnny Torch. I've heard him so many times.
Oh, that reminds me. Did you know that there was a radio show back in the mid-'70s where Bill Murray played the Human Torch?
What?
Yeah, I think it only aired once, but it was a radio show. And, of course, back then they didn't really have the budgets to make superhero movies a reality, but Bill Murray played the Human Torch. I don't know the other guys. Jim Pappas sounds familiar, but the rest of them are just like crazy. But in this radio show, they featured Ant-Man, Namor, Nick Fury, and the Hulk, and Stan Lee narrated the shows.
Yeah. Oh God, no, that's awesome. Bill Murray could pull off Human Torch, man. He's got that he has that comedic talent, and Johnny Storm did have that as well. But yeah, no, this is like I said, the animation is great and spot on. And as you said before, they actually brought back Human Torch for this. Because
Yeah.
I remember you telling me, like in the '60s and '70s, they put in Herbie
All right.
instead of
So
Human Torch because kids were afraid of lighting themselves on fire.
right. To give you a rundown, there was two series before this. We could have picked those, but I feel like the '90s was the best representation of the series. There was one in the '60s where it was it's borderline animation. What it was like animation works in certain frames per second. 24 frames per second tends to be the higher quality. As you go lower, it's 12, 8, 6, whatever. As you go lower, the slower the animation is. And
Right.
the Fantastic Four series, along with like Thor and stuff like that, I swear to you, it was like stills with moving mouths and narration, and then they would just have a movement like every like few seconds. It was pretty awful, brutal.
Right.
And
Let's see. I'm trying to.
well, the Spider-Man series during that same time period wasn't too bad, but it was also extremely limited. There was a '70s series, which is the one I've talked to you about a couple times. It's pretty notorious because they refused to put Human Torch in the series, assuming that kids would set themselves on fire, which makes no sense because I don't recall anybody reading the comic book and setting themselves on fire.
Of course. Oh yeah, that's right. Lori Allen was the voice of Invisible Woman. That's why she sounds so familiar.
What is she from?
Lori Allen. She was in Family Guy. She's the voice of Diane Simmons, the newscaster.
Oh, okay. Yeah,
That's
I didn't recognize that name.
yeah. She's in a bunch of stuff.
That second series of Fantastic Four, it ran the late '70s. It was produced by DePatie Freeling, which they made their names during the Warner Brothers year, like towards the end, and they also created the
Right.
Pink Panther cartoons. I have never thought that they were really high quality animation, but Marvel bought them out a couple years later, so they own all the rights to all those cartoons that they did with them. And that's when they started doing Spider-Man and Amazing Friends, The Incredible Hulk, which both of those you can catch in previous episodes of Back on Toons up on Facebook under Back on Toons. Haha.
Uh-huh. Yeah. Oh, you know who the voice of Thing was?
Who?
It
Clancy Brown?
was no Chuck McCann.
Oh, wow. That was Chuck McCann. I'm actually friends with him on Facebook. I did not know that about him.
I know, that's awesome. Yeah, no, and of course, oh, at first Brian Austin Green was Johnny Storm for like 13 episodes, and the other half was Quentin Flynn.
Hmm.
Yeah, and then they definitely switched quite a few people around and voice actors. I guess their contracts were out or what? I'm not sure. But yeah, first it was Neil Ross, and then I think I remember more was Simon Templeman for a few episodes, who was the voice of Doctor Doom. That guy really did great with his voice.
Yeah, I was looking this up. During the late '80s, early '90s, when Marvel started packaging up some of their cartoons, like they did Spider-Man Amazing Friends, they issued out with Dino Riders, which we did a few weeks ago, and RoboCop. But they also decided to relaunch in the '90s, and it would be that Fantastic Four and Iron Man, which were running concurrently, and then Biker Mice from Mars would also be added into that world, which is weird because it's not part of the Marvel universe.
Right. Yeah, it was that was a bit of a crazy crossover.
Yeah, it's weird.
Like, it was like a different crossover was, when Hulk and Ghost Rider, the animated series was around, they had guest spots. I was like, whoa, Ghost Rider and Hulk teaming up? Oh my God, that's awesome.
I have to tell you this. There was a crazy period of Fantastic Four around issue 350. The team got sucked into like this alternate universe, Doctor Doom castle kind of thing, where everybody was captive except for Reed, who had scratched his way out of his tomb with his belt buckle.
Right.
He scratched a hole in the wall,
Oh, wow.
and he stretched through that tiny pinhole or whatever and got free, and he battled Doctor Doom. And afterwards, they had to reform a new Fantastic Four team. I can't remember if it was because they were exhausted or something happened to them. And it ended up being, I shit you not, Wolverine, Spider-Man, Ghost Rider, and shit, I'm forgetting who the fourth one was. But it was something crazy like the Punisher or like the Hulk. And you're just looking going, what? How did the four of these guys go together?
I know. Oh God, you know who's? Oh yeah, and actually Ghost Rider did make an appearance on Fantastic Four. I can't even speak right now.
Yeah,
Damn
it
it.
happens.
Yeah, no, you know who voiced him? Richard Grieco.
No kidding. Booker from 21 Jump Street. No joke. That's crazy.
Yeah, no, that's kind of awesome. Yeah, honestly, yeah. Although I'd have to say, as much as I detest that fucking theme song, I think this was quite the cartoon. I mean, what ran on for like what 2 seasons,
Uh huh.
26 episodes?
Yeah, yeah.
Wow. Yeah, no, I mean, and the animation only got better and better. I mean, yeah, the coloring and the scheming definitely changed because at first, they were just plain blue, looked a little cheap. Then they added in some then they changed up the contrast and the tone, and yeah, the suits weren't just all like light blue. There was more detail to them.
Yeah,
There was
the
like actual shading, and
costumes
they looked black.
the costumes stayed the same for so long. It was kind of the same the way it was with Iron Man. You would go like 80 to 100 issues with the same exact outfit, then someone would come along and go, "Hey, let's change this up a little bit." Then all of a sudden, it went from change every 100 issues to like every 10 issues. And the Fantastic Four have had some really great costumes, and then someone will come in and screw it up, and they have to go back and do it again. The same with Iron Man.
Of
Iron
course.
Man has a new armor like every other month.
Yeah, I know. It's because he constantly. I mean, it even just shows in the movies. I'm like, okay, you can't just stick with one major design. uh,
Yeah, I'm trying to find the main animation company behind this, and it looks like it's still the same Marvel Entertainment Group. Yes, you're right. All those cartoons we mentioned earlier were designed by the same people. I think it was distributed by Saban or either financed by Saban Entertainment, of course, known for Power Rangers.
oh, big time.
Now the
Oh my god, I see
distributor,
that at the end of
yeah, the
every
distributor is
every Power
Disney.
Rangers episode.
And
Oh
but
wow.
but the original distributor was New World Entertainment. Now a lot of people don't know who New World is because they've been defunct for so long. New World Entertainment was Roger Corman's company that he created in 1970. He decided in 1984 to sell it off to a company who offered him like I think $6 million for just distribution, the ability to distribute their movies and promote and everything like that. So they basically just bought the studio itself. They did not buy any of his catalog. They just wanted
Mm.
everything already lined up, how to get movies to the theaters. And they only had a few hits. They had Soul Man, which is the most embarrassing movie ever, about a white guy pretending to be a black guy so he can get into a prestigious college. And
Oh wow.
and House, which is a fantastic movie, and Angel. That was about it. But New World went and bought up Marvel Comics around '87, thinking that they're going to start building this huge powerhouse. So they did those Incredible Hulk movies, like the Return of Incredible Hulk and stuff like that. They did the Punisher movie, and they went out of business right as the Punisher movie was finished. And so the distribution of the movies was dead, and all they had left was this TV division, and they kept going with the cartoons for a while.
Oh wow.
Yeah, well, here's the thing: is the guy who owned Marvel, New World, and Maybelline. I think a couple other companies like he owned Tops or Donruss or something like that. He,
Jesus.
yeah, he owned a bunch of companies, but this is what he would do. He would take the money from one company to go buy another company. So when he would go buy like Donruss or whatever the baseball card company was, he would take the money out of
Hmm.
Marvel, so they wouldn't have much to operate with. And then if that company that he bought failed, not only was Marvel out that money, they were never ever going to see it again, and then they were in horrible debt. And he just kept borrowing on top of borrowing on top of borrowing until every single one of his companies basically went out of business or he had to sell them.
Shit, dude, that sucks.
Yeah, they wrote a book about it. It's absolutely amazing. I can't remember the name of it right now, but it's all about how he nearly destroyed the entire world of Marvel.
Oh my god, yeah, no, I mean that's horrible. Like what such great companies have to go through. I mean, especially like with the Canon Films, the one who did Masters of the Universe, and Orion Pictures with RoboCop and all, who did RoboCop and all that. Yeah, it's a shame.
Yeah, it's just when
Ugh.
people overspend and they don't plan ahead. I still stuns me that Orion even went out of business because in their last year of business, before they went bankrupt, they had two movies over $100 million and they didn't cost very much. Silence of the Lambs and Dances with Wolves cost very little money in comparison to what they brought in, and yet they still went bankrupt. And you're like, what the hell? Who's screwing up so bad?
How? I mean, plus like Oscar and Anthony Hopkins won Best Actor for that role.
Right, and so I think what it was is I think if I remember correctly, Dance with Wolves cost like $15 million and made $175 million. But they had so many bombs before those two movies that they were just on thin ice the whole time. And I remember seeing a poster, and there was even a Marvel comic book, a RoboCop 3. Even the game was already out, winter of '91, and the movie never showed up because they had no money to put it out. So it came out 2 years later, and all that promotion and tie-ins were dead as a doornail, and the movie bombed. Plus, it's just
Oh,
terrible.
RoboCop 3?
Yeah, yeah.
Oh God, of course it did. Oh my God, I watched that one recently, and I'm like, oh my God, I can't believe that. I mean, I only a child could like this movie. I mean, yeah, that was the objective, was to make it more kid friendly, but at the same time, come on.
Now, are
Like, he
you?
barely even,
Do
never
you?
even really killed anyone.
Right. Did you ever read the comic, Fantastic Four?
I did read a few comics. I actually have a very old vintage, like '60s issue.
No
I
kidding.
can't. I don't even want to touch it because if I do, I'm afraid it'll just turn into dust.
Yeah, my uncle Greg, he collected two comics like heavily. He collected Fantastic Four and Spider-Man, and I read all of the Spider-Mans. He started collecting, I think, around issue 101, 102, and he read them up until about 215, and that's when I started reading them. And my cousin, I have two uncles. They're brothers, but they're massive difference in age, and he also gave him the Fantastic Four, and it was very hard for me to get into it because I don't understand science. And a lot of the stories are very heavy on science, so I find myself scratching my head a lot. So I couldn't get into the comic too much. I'd read an issue here or there. But about 10 years ago, they decided to reboot it as a Marvel Knights series, and they made it more about the characters instead of the science. And I really liked that,
Right.
but a lot of people really, really, really hated it because while the art was fantastic by Steve McKibben, um, it was about the fact that somehow Reed Richards lost all of their money. I can't remember
Oh
how.
wow.
He lost everything. They lost Baxter Building. They end up being basically all living in some shitty apartment, desperately trying to make money. And I was like, wait a minute, Reed Richards is a genius. How is he not able just to put one patent out there and then make all that money back instantly?
Exactly. I know. Who I'm guessing because I haven't read the Marvel Knights series at all. But I'm guessing, I don't know, Doom had something to do with it to try and screw him over, which was kind of a plot point in the first movie by Tim Story, about trying to get funding to try and get his project going to be able to study that cosmic cloud that was coming through.
Yeah.
And then of course Doctor Doom, played by what's his name from Nip Tuck and Charmed.
I literally just saw his name this morning.
Julian McMahon.
Yeah, that's it.
That's it. Yeah, Julian McMahon. Oh God, terrible performance, terrible casting. Anyway, so yeah, no, he even mentions like, okay, if NASA doesn't trust you, why should I? So it's like, okay, he probably did make a call to NASA about not funding his project because that way he would be desperate enough to go to Doctor Doom. Ah, interesting plot point.
Yeah.
But still.
Yeah, the movies are really hard. They're nice for a flimsy afternoon. It's like I got nothing else to do. I'll watch Fantastic Four, but it's never like I gotta set time aside and watch this again. Like really sit still. Like you could work on the computer or read a book at the same time you're watching the movie and not really miss anything.
Yeah, I know. I mean, honestly, well, and judging from the trailers of the new Fantastic Four movie, I'm pretty sure it got heavily scientific.
Yeah, maybe that's what's throwing people off. I don't know.
I know. I don't get it either. I mean, Fantastic Four, as you just mentioned, like the original Fantastic Four was heavily scientific.
Yeah, well, I think the problem isn't so much the plot. I think it's the fact that this is what I've been hearing. I don't know if it's true, and I don't want to get sued, but word has is that Josh Trank, who did a fantastic job on Chronicle, found himself in a situation where he was over his head. Going from a $12 million movie to a $100 and something million movie, and you're launching this huge franchise, the pressure got to him, and he would just hide in his trailer for days. Or he would show up, and then someone else would have to, like, start filming because he wouldn't do anything, like second unit or whatever, and then he'd come out and cause situations. So the movie was kind of inconsistent. He was rewriting the script, so a lot of it was just made up on the spot. And that's not how you make a superhero movie. And, he got fired from the Star Wars franchise because of this.
Or he was forced to quit. But I honestly think, I mean, as far as that goes, that sounds like what happened with The Island of Dr. Moreau.
Oh, yeah, that's a rough one. They're pushing Richard Stanley out and causing all these situations. But the difference between Island of Dr. Moreau and Fantastic Four is that they didn't have a Val Kilmer and Marlon Brando screwing it up for everybody.
No, I know. But if anything, like I said, it also has to do with like producers and studios who want this thing to happen and think it'll work. Uh, Sometimes, yeah, you have to blame the studio as well, right? I mean, look what happened. I mean, that's what Andrew Garfield did when it came to Amazing Spider-Man.
Yeah, studios can
Amazing
get in the
Spider-Man
way
2 in particular.
by forcing franchises that aren't ready for franchises, and I don't know. It just seems like one of those things where you're just kind of bummed. Yeah, I'll go back to Marvel, but at this point, does anybody give a shit about Fantastic Four? Even if Marvel gets it back and they can fix it, will anybody show up? It's like the way it was with Hulk. It's just it's already screwed up so bad. I don't know if anybody, unless it's going to be like Steven Spielberg who steps in and fixes it. I don't know if it's going to happen.
Well, oh yeah, no, I mean Steven Spielberg. I mean, like I think any studio should just leave Steven Spielberg alone should he direct a movie.
Yeah,
and I'm pretty sure they do. He's done whatever he did. I mean, look at Schindler's List, man.
Well, he takes almost anything. It's very rare that he has a movie that doesn't work, but the problem is he's expensive. He's like $20 million a picture unless he really likes the movie and wants to cut the budget down. You're going to have to find a newbie who's willing to sign a contract, basically doing whatever they want them to do, and at the budget they want it to. And there's not a lot of guys that are established and experienced that will do that. Kenneth Branagh did it, and I'm kind of surprised they just ditched his ass because I think the second Thor is a little weaker than the first one, and if they had stuck with Branagh, it would have worked.
Oh, definitely. I mean, yeah, it did get more into the little fantasy realm. Like instead of just seeing Earth and bits of Asgard, you get to see more of Asgard and all these other dark worlds. I thought that was pretty cool, but yeah, it really wasn't as good as Kenneth Branagh's. No, and plus it missed the Shakespearean tone to it.
Well, I think the cartoon is over with. I apologize, everybody, if it sounds like I'm an idiot. I was
just about to mention that.
I don't have the ability to watch the cartoons while we're talking anymore. I have to watch them ahead of time and just kind of remember. Before we're done with this, let me move on to Bionic 6. Who do you prefer of the Fantastic Four? Who's your favorite character?
Oh, for me, it was always the Thing. I had so many action figures of him. I mean, he was big, he was strong, he would smash through anything. Plus, I loved when he said it's clobbering time.
Oh, yeah.
Although it was just awful in the movies. I mean, I'm sorry. I love you, Michael Chiklis, but fuck you in that moment.
It sounds like he's saying, "There's clobbering time. I got peanut butter in my mouth."
It was a stupid way to introduce it too.
Yeah,
I think it only works in the '60s for me, honestly, now and in my childhood.
In the movies, I prefer Johnny Storm because Chris Evans is so good. But in the comics, yes, I choose the Thing primarily because, while I wasn't a big Fantastic Four reader, I read his series. The Thing had two series. It was called Marvel 2-in-1, where it was a Thing teaming up with some B and C level character, and it was always kind of cool because who's going to show up this issue? But then in the 80s, it was weird. He left Fantastic Four, and She-Hulk took his place. And he went off on adventures where he was like a wrestler. I shit you not, he was like in the superhero wrestling league. And it was all his adventures being on the road. And I thought that was amazing. It only lasted 3 years, but I was astounded by how crazy that was.
Yeah, no, that is. I mean, knowing that, no, it is pretty awesome. I mean, him getting his own comics and venturing out on his own. Like, if anyone were to get a spinoff, it would definitely be him. He was the most loved character. Even in the deleted scene in Fantastic Four, I think it was either 1 or 2, they had this toy line, and Thing was outselling all of the others.
Yeah, I mean, he's just the coolest character. My favorite, there was a part...
And he's Jewish.
There was a... Really? I didn't know that.
Ben Grimm's Jewish.
There is a part of Fantastic Four where he was trying to fix himself, and it ended up doubling his rock. Like, instead of being like the smooth rock, he ended up being like a mutated, like really sharp, jagged pieces. I'll show you a picture later. And he was like that for a while. The problem is that he accidentally made his girlfriend into the Thing. So they're both freak shows. He handled it a lot better than she did, that's for sure. I think it was Miss Marvel, actually. Miss Marvel turned it to the Thing.
Oh, wow, really?
Yeah, I have to show it to you.
That was his girlfriend at the time?
What's that?
That was his girlfriend at the time? Not the blind girl?
I think, no, she kind of moved on. It was a weird period where the Fantastic Four really didn't seem like they knew what they were doing. And the team kept changing or whatever, and I remember that. It was right around that issue 350 I was telling you about, because he turns into this super human version. I mean, just jagged and just crazy looking. Walt Simonson did the artwork, and it was fantastic.
Like a mellow version of Doomsday.
Yeah, but you know what? You're very close. I'll show you later when we get done with this what he looked like.
Okay.
All right, so everybody, we're gonna
honestly,
what?
One more question.
Okay.
How does the Thing take a shit or piss? he has to have like a metal, like steel fucking toilet bowl. I mean, does
Yeah,
he
I don't
ship
know.
boulders?
It's
Does he
weird
probably get what?
because
How does
there was a. I shit you not, there was
he
a
this
period.
magma?
There was a period where the Thing was human, and then Reed made him a Thing costume. I kid you not. He was human again, and he would wear a suit that looked just like the Thing, and it would give him advanced powers. He wasn't as strong, but he still had like superhuman strength. And I was like, well, here it makes sense because he can eat food and he can poop. But does the Thing eat pizza? Does he eat a sandwich? And does he poop rocks or does he poop normal? And how does he wipe his ass with all those rocks? Does poop get stuck in the rocks?
Yeah, I know it does. I mean, he gets.
Do you have to power wash his
Will
ass?
he get hemorrhoids?
I don't know. I never really even thought about it. Oh.
This is okay. We'll have to ask this.
Well,
We'll
I
have
mean,
to ask the creators. We'll get a hold of Stanley.
He doesn't seem like he has a penis. It seems like it's just when you look at him, it's just rock. But he does wear underwear sometimes. Oh my God, does he have a rock penis?
You don't have a. Yeah, no, but in the new Fantastic Four movie, he doesn't wear underwear at all. He's naked.
Oh, yeah, I don't know, man. I don't know if he poops. That's crazy. Maybe
Yeah.
he absorbs it. All right, while we ponder that, we're going to take a pause and come back with Bionic 6.
We are a family. I fight for them, and they fight for me. As close as we can be. High in the mountain or deep in the sea. Bionic 6. We run together. We fight for right. Bionic 6. We also try to be a super feature family.
A family brought together by faith and given superpowers through the miracle of modern science.
Bionic 6. We run together. We fight for right. Super feature family. And we're so very proud to be Bionic 6.
All right, obviously that's Bionic 6 because they said it like 12 times. You know what? That song was really hokey and cheesy. Like, it screams of the 80s. Like, everything's positive and woo! But it was infinitely better than the Fantastic Four theme song.
It is, but like, come on. Oh my God, it was entertaining. Like, it was like Brady Bunch on acid.
Yeah, that was
And-
pretty wild. Yeah, go ahead and start the episode. I apologize. I should have said that. Duh. Are you good?
Yeah, but still, yeah, no. I mean, the only other drug I can think of was cocaine. Yeah, like the Brady Bunch on cocaine and LSD.
So, I mean, it seems crazy that I would pick the Bionic 6 from one point. I thought I was going to choose Fantastic Four or the Silver Surfer cartoon, which makes a hell of a lot more sense. But something about this, I saw Bionic 6, I was like, well, okay, so they're superhuman, they're a family, basically, and they have a number in it. Well, you know what? The audience for Bionic 6 alone is going to be kind of difficult to find. So I thought, well, you know what? Why don't I just add it to Fantastic Four? Is that crazy?
Yeah, I know. Yeah, I know. There is some contrasting. You know, they're both families. Of course, the Bionic 6 has two more and a giant robot monkey, evidently.
And who doesn't love
That's
Ryan?
great.
Oh my God, giant robot monkeys! I'm there.
Okay, how can a robot taste? It wouldn't even have a sense of taste. That's a lie.
Or was it added in? Maybe it has some sort of. I mean, robots feel emotions these days, so why not add that as well? So
Oh gosh.
what? And
Yeah, kids, not everything you see in the fridge is food.
Yeah, you know, I actually scoffed at watching this at first. I was like, this looks kind of dumb, but I actually watched it, and it's actually really great. I enjoyed it highly.
I know it's great, high quality animation, already from what I can tell.
And the voice work, you got Frank Welker again, who's like in every single cartoon that we've ever discussed. Alan Oppenheimer, who is in nearly just as many. And Brian Tachi is the one that I thought was interesting. Brian Tachi was, crap, I forgot the name, but he was the Asian guy in Revenge of the Nerds. You know, always says hair pie.
Oh, the one who plays. Oh God, I know who you're talking about. I cannot remember his name. Here,
Yeah,
I'm gonna find it. I'm gonna find it.
And then he ended up in Police Academy 3.
And he was also the voice of Leonardo in the first Ninja Turtles movie.
Thank you. I just watched that this morning. I was watching Dick Tracy and Ninja Turtles, thinking that we could discuss that on some future episode of our other show. And I was like, well, it's been 25 years of Ninja Turtles and Dick Tracy. Let's watch them and see if they hold up. And you're like, Ninja Turtles still kicks ass. Then I saw the names. I was like, Brian Tachi, I know who that is.
Oh yeah. No, and for me, what? I think Dick Tracy still holds up too, man. I mean,
That seems like a lot of noise, man. I don't know. It feels like a lot of stunt casting, a lot of noise, and the vision is kind of shaky at times. It looks beautiful. I like the characters, but there are times when it feels like too much, and I never ever feel that way with Ninja Turtles.
right. No, I mean, I still love Ninja Turtles. I mean, it really captured the grisly look of the sewer, and I mean, honestly, Michael Bay's version makes this look like an Oscar masterpiece.
I still haven't seen it. I'm not sure if I can bring myself to watching it.
It'll probably be available online somewhere.
Yeah, I'm sure. Okay, so this was not your usual cartoon. This was a USA Network cartoon. In fact, I think it was their very first cartoon because USA had only been around for a few years. And while they were funded by Universal Studios, they didn't have a whole lot of money going to the channel. I think all they had at that time was the Airwolf Season 4, which was basically, oh, we're just going to reuse all the aerial shots and have a new cast and shoot it in Canada.
Right.
And then I think they had Swamp Thing around this time, or maybe a couple years later. So obviously they didn't have a whole lot of cash going around for these shows.
Right. Yeah, no, and of course, I mean, it does look like I mean, the animation does kind of look like something out of, Sky Surfers and Ultra Force.
Yeah, I'm looking
This is
this
by
up.
the same animation company?
TMS Entertainment, which is actually a Sega company. So this cartoon is actually kind of from Sega.
Hey.
I don't know if they
All
bought
right,
them
good
later
information.
or what. They did Lupin the Third, which I absolutely enjoy. Most of it is anime.
David Hayter.
What's that?
Oh, David Hayter was the voice of Lupin.
Oh, Mighty Orbots, which I think we're going to... Did we try to watch Mighty Orbots when we were both miserable? I can't remember.
No, I don't think so. I don't think I've heard of it.
Oh, okay. Wow. I could have swore they did some other cartoons that I knew. It looks like almost all anime. No, I know for a fact that they did some theatrical stuff in America, or anime stuff from America. Gosh. Oh, here we go. They contribute animation to these cartoons that were not exclusively theirs. Alf, Galaxy Rangers, Sonic the Hedgehog, American Tail 3, Animaniacs, Batman the Animated Series, Batman Beyond, Chippendales, Cyber 6. Oh, I like that cartoon. Dennis the Menace, Gummy Bears, DuckTales, Galaxy High. Wow, I'm just barely into this list, and they're just killing it. They got Heathcliff, they got Inspector Gadget. They did that Doom, Justice League Doom. So they're still in
that's
business.
awesome.
Yeah. The Littles. Rainbow Bright. We can forget about that. I want to erase that from my memory forever. The Real Ghostbusters.
Rainbow Bright?
Yeah. Do you like Rainbow Bright? Because I always thought that was weird.
Yeah, I liked Rainbow Bright. I thought it was cool.
You know, at some point we have to discuss some of the girl cartoons, and I just don't know how I can bring myself to
Like
discussing.
Gem and the Hologram?
Yeah, it's like you read my mind, dude.
Well, we need to bring in a special guest on this.
Yeah, you know what? I think I have someone lined up who watched a bunch of stuff, but then I was like, well, we don't necessarily have to discuss girl cartoons. And she's like, okay, well, can we talk about Rugrats and Doug and stuff like that? I was like, dang it, all right.
Hell yes.
I mean, yeah, I wanted to discuss those, but I was like, I need someone who knows Rainbow Bright and Care Bears and the Wuzzles and nonsense like that. Someone just probably got really mad at me. It's not nonsense! The animation director on this cartoon is also one of the main guys on Gogol 13. That's a grown-up cartoon, and it's absolutely fascinating. I was obsessed with Gogol 13 growing up because the video game for Nintendo was amazing.
Wow. I mean... Oh, excuse me. Sorry. Oh, gosh. I just lost my train of thought. I was just about to come up with a good question, and I lost it.
Can I tell you something? This whole time I'm trying to focus, but you know I got severely injured. You've seen the pictures. My hands are a gory mess. And I took the Band-Aids off halfway through the Fantastic Four episode, and the air is coming in. At first it was like, oh, it's cool and refreshing, and now it feels like someone is digging at it with a knife. Oh, it's burning. It's burning like hellfire. And let me tell you this, people, while I'm trying to find something to fill this episode with actually Bionic 6 information. Do not clean anything electronic without unplugging it. I thought I could get it before it was an issue, and as I flipped it over to pull something out of a sweeper, it turned on, and yes, it is brushes. It's not blades, but it moves so fast, so insanely fast, and it's so hard that it scraped layer after layer after layer off my finger within maybe 3 seconds of me trying to get my hand out. Because every time I pull my hand out, I don't know why I didn't unplug it. I panicked, and I just tried to pull my hand out, and it shredded them.
Yeah, ow. I mean, it did. It looks awful. I mean, it looks like it's just, when I look at it, I feel like it's just bubbling and oozing, like in the thing or some shit.
Yeah, the first day it was so bad. The second day it started to get better, and then all of a sudden the swelling kicked in, and it felt like my bones were going to split apart. Yeah, my hand was like big and purple and red, and it felt like the joints were trying to tear themselves apart. So I got that going on right now. All right, so now, besides that, jeez.
Well, I haven't eaten anything yet, and even then, that would not deter my hunger.
Yeah.
Or my state of hunger. I would still be hungry after seeing that and hearing that.
Now, I never saw this cartoon when it was originally on. In fact, I heard about it through someone else. Like, someone had just mentioned. I was like, what the hell is that? And they told me about it. I was like, no, I've never seen that. That's the glory of YouTube. And you can find almost any cartoon that's not on DVD, which this is not, on there. Someone preserves cartoons. In fact, more than any other television genre, cartoons are saved and posted online so you can see them. There's a history there that you can enjoy.
Who do you think could, if this was to be made into a live action film, who do you think, who would play who?
I don't know. Let me see. Well, if it was 10 years ago, I'd say Lori Petty would be fantastic. But Chris Pine is said too much. Let's go older. Let's go. Well, how old is everybody exactly?
I'm not sure. Yeah.
No, we're going too young because you know what? In fact, their leader.
Bruce Greenwood.
What's that?
Bruce Greenwood.
All right, so karate. The fact that he's Asian, his name is Karate One, just seems racist. So I don't know how to tackle that. And Bruce Greenwood is genius. He should totally be Bionic One. Mother One. If you're talking Bruce Greenwood's age, I would say Kathleen Quinlan would be fantastic.
Right.
The girl who's short and spunky right now, that would be great.
Chloe Grace Moritz.
Yeah, or who was in Juno again? What's her name? She's an X-Men.
Oh, Ellen Page.
Yeah, Ellen Page. I almost said Helen Page would be good. Sport One and IQ. Sport One. You know what? Grab somebody from like nowhere, like someone who just has TV experience.
Right.
I'm trying to think. I don't watch TV much anymore, but somebody who's really hot right now who could pull it off. What's that kid who's the kid from Arrow? You know, his sidekick that played Arsenal.
Oh yeah, I want to say Colton Haynes.
Is that his name? Okay. Yeah,
it is. Hold on. Yep, it's Colton Haynes.
And then IQ. You know what?
No.
What's that?
Oh no, brain melting. Can't think.
Well, no, I was thinking if you go older, just a little bit older with IQ, you know who I've really liked is Omar Epps. He's a really great actor. He was on House for years, but he's a theatrical actor to me. And I don't understand why he's stuck doing, if not that, maybe Mekhi Phifer. I've always enjoyed his work.
Hell yeah. Oh, that would be awesome. I mean, they definitely need some more. They deserve more acting.
Yeah, and there are guys that are really solid who just for some reason or another just didn't come out. I did want to say this. It did last 2 seasons, but a very, very short season. Cartoons are weird. They can be 65 episodes long, and they can be 1 season. Whereas if you said that about something like, I don't know, Airwolf, 65 episodes, that's 3 seasons or more. And within this, they had 1 line of toys, 13 figures. It was by LJN, who made decent toys, made some of the worst video games in history.
Yeah, well, they could definitely use. I mean, Mekhi Phifer or Omar Epps, they definitely could use the work right now. I mean, Mekhi Phifer, he's only like what, worth like 50,000-60,000.
I don't know. You know what I was thinking? Now? I was thinking a lot of. It's weird that we keep casting the same black actors over and over and over. Denzel Washington gets, all the big pictures, and Will Smith and Morgan Freeman. Well, Morgan Freeman obviously is now basically a supporting actor, and he's kind of heading towards his retirement or, I don't know, dead years. And Denzel Washington is aging out of the action genre. Will Smith is starting to lose his favor with audiences. Who do we have left? Who do we have that's being prepared for A-list? I'm kind of stretching because Don Cheadle.
Tyrese Gibbs.
What's that?
Tyrese Gibbs. I mean, he's pretty hot though. I mean, as far as action movies go.
Yeah, but Tyrese has never had really a leading role. It's been years since Waist Deep came out. I think 10 years, and of course before they had Baby Boy. I don't know what's going on, but
Chadwick Boseman.
Chadwick Boseman is rising, but he still doesn't have established as an A-lister. He needs Black Panther to hit very well, and
he was perfect in 42 and Get On Up. I mean, he really could play different type. He can play different people. He can switch around. He can become different personalities. He's already proven that.
Yeah, he's a leading man that is more of a character actor, which is my favorite kind of leading man. Like, they can disappear into their roles. Whereas it's not just, it's just this guy doing himself again. Come on. And who plays Falcon again?
Oh, sorry. Excuse me. Oh, gosh. I'm trying to think. I can't believe I keep forgetting his name. Oh, gosh. It's on the tip of my tongue. Anthony Mackie. That's what it is.
I'm sorry. Normally I can think a little bit better than this, but the pain is starting to get kind of insane. Is there anything else you want to say about Bionic 6? Because I kind of think we should wrap this up before I start screeching in agony. I gotta soak this hand in ice.
Honestly, I think this is a really entertaining cartoon. It's definitely a product of its time, and I will pretty much everything is more entertaining than the Republican presidential, nominee debate.
Yeah, we're watching that. Yeah, I was watching that, and I was like, nobody's answering the questions. What the hell is going on? Could somebody answer a question? And when the thing beep beep beeps, could you please stop? Because if you don't, I will sick the Bionic 6 on you.
Practically, yeah, no, but like I said, I would definitely give this another shot. But just as long as it doesn't have a hokey or stupid theme song.
Well, I mean, it was the 80s, and the 80s was kind of a rough period because everything seemed to be tied to a toy line, and a lot of times the animation was a second thought. Let's not focus on the quality animation and plot, but then you have things that would come along like Transformers. They built a huge mythology, great animation, great stories, great voice work, and that kind of set the tone. It's like, well, maybe we should try a little bit harder, and I think Bionic 6 is that one of those first cartoons that kind of took that reign. It's like, okay, well, let's do some world building, let's do some mythology, let's do quality animation, and get some voice actors that aren't the same exact guys you hear every single time. All right, everybody, I think we're done here with Back in Tunes. Check us out on Facebook. We have a page just set up for Back in Tunes with all of our episodes, including reruns. Let us know how we're doing, and if you have any suggestions, let us know. This is Michael signing off, and Jacob.
All right. Goodbye. So long. Au revoir.
Auf Wiedersehen. Goodbye.
I forget the fucking song.
Goodbye.
I only watched it once. All right. Don't forget.
Everybody.
What do you always say, Michael?
I always say, be excellent to each other.
All right. Have a good night, everybody.